Hello and welcome to my latest video, and as said yesterday, it makes sense that the other 7 major divisions are open, that I opened the flyweight division. So here is the first flyweight being added to that list. Of course, it is the great puncher Jimmy Wilde from Wales. So we will now go through his career and information. So Jimmy Wilde, when we look at his major opponents, okay, Jimmy Wilde fought Joe Simmons, young Joe Simmons, on 2 occasions, scoring 2 wins. He also fought Sid Smith on 3 occasions, scoring 3 wins. Next up is Tansy Lee. Jimmy Wilde fought him on 2 occasions, scoring 1 win, 1 loss and no draws. And then he fought 2 of the great bantamweight champions, 2 top 10 all-time bantamweights in my book. The first was a fight with Joe Lynch that Jimmy Wilde won, and the second was a fight with Pete Kid Herman that Jimmy Wilde lost. Yeah, good morning, Martin. Are you well, buddy? Are you good? Very sunny here. I don't know about where you are, but it's very, very sunny here. Really, really sticky and hot. So anyway, next up, following on from 2 great bantamweights, okay, we go to a great flyweight, the great Filipino fighter Pancho Villa, of course, who ripped the world flyweight title from Jimmy Wilde. So that was, of course, a defeat. Jimmy Wilde then also held a win over Hall of Famer and very underrated fighter Memphis Palmore. He then also held a singular win over Harry Brooks and also gained 3 wins from 3 against young George Dando. Next up was Darky Saunders. Jimmy Wilde fought him again like young George Dando on 3 occasions, winning all 3 fights. And then Jimmy Wilde fought Albert Bozzoni, okay, scoring a win. Next up was Tommy Noble. Jimmy White beat him 2 occasions. And then to close out this slide, he scored singular wins. The first over Sam Keller, the second over Johnny Rossner, and the third over Tommy Harrison. Oh, is it a bit cloudy where you are? Wow, it's clear skies here, cracking flags, mate. It's crazy. So anyway, there's the first slide, okay. Unlike Jimmy Barry, Jimmy Wilde does have more of a resume. He's already fought a number of Hall of Famers on there, especially 2 of the top 10 bantamweights of all time. One of the great flyweights, Pancho Villa, and of course Hall of Famer Memphis Palmore, as well as some other good fighters, you know, like Tansy Lee, Sid Smith, etc. So that is the first slide. Let us go on to the second slide now. Jimmy Wilde also defeats Johnny Hughes in a singular fight, and then he has 2 fights against Tommy Noble. Jimmy Wilde wins both of those, and then he defeats the capable Mike Ertel before also gaining win over the vastly experienced Frankie Mason. The final name on here is Battling Al Murray, whom Jimmy Wilde fought on 2 occasions, winning both fights. So from there, his 31 fights highlighted there. Okay, Jimmy Wilde has an excellent winning record in there of 28 wins, 3 losses and no draws. And when you consider, you know, a number of those defeats are to fighters like Pancho Villa, Pete Kid Herman, etc., the other one to Tansy Lee, of course, all of those defeats are to top level fighters. So on to the next slide, okay. Knockouts. Jimmy Wilde was very good at scoring knockouts, nicknamed the Mighty Atom, the ghost with a hammer in his hand. Someone on a Facebook group once called him the Sleeper Reaper. Just, it don't make much sense, but it was just funny how we put it, the Sleeper Reaper. So anyway, Jimmy Wilde, okay, scored 99 knockouts, 39 of those knockouts in 3 rounds or less, and 3 in the first round. Now, Jimmy Wilde scored 5 KOs against champions, 0 KOs against Hall of Famers and pound-for-pounders, and of course 0 KOs against rated fighters. Now, Jimmy Wilde did fight just over 1,000 career rounds at 1,047. He fought 45 title fight rounds in his career, and he also had a total of 114 rounds against champions. Now, Jimmy Wilde fought 59 rounds against Hall of Fame fighters and 24 rounds against pound-for-pound fighters. Now, against rated fighters, Jimmy Wilde has the same total in all 3 one opponent. Rounds against top 10 fighters is 7, rounds against top 3 fighters is 7, and rounds against ring champions is 7. Of course, Jimmy Wilde, pre-rating era fighter. So, on to our next slide, the champions. Now, Jimmy Wilde had 10 fights against champions, okay, he scored 7 wins with 3 losses and no draws. The 4 champions he defeated were young Joe Simmons, Tansy Lee, Sid Smith, and of course great bantamweight Joe Lynch, and he scored knockouts or stoppages over 3 of those fighters, Joe Simmons, Tansy Lee and Sid Smith. Of course, he didn't score a knockout win over Joe Lynch, but Joe Lynch was almost unstoppable, as much as unstoppable unstoppable as a fighter can be, Joe Lynch was that. Really, really tough guy. So anyway, on to our next slide. What is the Hall of Fame category? Jimmy Wilde had 4 fights against Hall of Famers with a record of 2 win, 2 loss, no draw. He defeated 2 individual Hall of Famers, Joe Lynch and Memphis Palmore, of course losing to Pete Kidderman and Pancho Villa, and he scored knockouts over none of those 2 fighters, so he has 0 knockouts against Hall of Fame fighters. And against pound for pounders, Jimmy Wilde just has the 2 fights, okay, with no wins, so he has no win, 2 loss, no draw. Thus, he beat no individual pound for pound rated fighters and also scored knockouts over no individual pound for pound rated fighters. So there is the more niche opponent breakdown on Champions Hall of Famers pound for pounders. When we go on to rating slide, Jimmy Wilde just had the 1 fight against a rated opponent. That was a defeat. So his record against top 10 is no win, 1 loss, no draw. And he has the same record against top 3 fighters on Ring Champions, being the same opponent. Now, that means he defeated no individual rated fighters, although had ratings been around for his whole career, that would have been different. He would have had a larger number of fighters like Tansy Lee, Memphis Palmore, Sid Smith, young Joe Simmons, Tommy Noble. Most of these guys would have been rated. So sadly we'll never know the full extent of his history against rated opponents, but that's just how it goes, unfortunately. So Jimmy Wilde also scored knockouts over 0 rated opponents. And when we go on to his title fight slide, Jimmy Wilde had 6 world title fights, scoring 5 wins, 1 loss, no draw. He made 4 title defences and he scored 5 title fight KOs, so all his title fight wins were knockouts or stoppages. Now, of course, he has no wins against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions in title fights, and he has 2 wins against champions in title fights and 0 wins against Hall of Famers and pound for pounders. So, just 1 slide to go. Jimmy Wilde, of course, was the inaugural lineal flyweight champion. There were earlier versions of world flyweight titles, some at different weights, but not the established lineal line. Jimmy Wilde started that line and started as a long-reigning lineal flyweight champion from 1916 to 1923. It is what it is. So, of course, he captured the world flyweight title. Jimmy Wilde was also lineal flyweight champion and undisputed flyweight champion. So that is the video on Jimmy Wilde. So that means, people, the 8 major divisions are now open. Over coming days, over the next few weeks, I will add more fighters across the different divisions, and start to fill them out a bit. I'm already working on my next 10 videos on my top 1,000. I've got 3 of those videos ready, so when those 10 are ready, then 10 will come. But until then, I'll take advantage and get more fighters out. So there's Jimmy Wilde. Big shout out to Martin. Well, I hope it clears up for you a bit today, mate. Hopefully the sun comes out and cracks down a bit, warms everything up. A bit dreary when it's cloudy, although funnily enough, I tell especially young ones now that when I was growing up, our seasons were very well defined. You could pretty much time by a clock when spring would start, when summer would start, when autumn would start, and when winter would start. When I were a young kid and then a young teenager, we had like 2 or 3 months of snow every year. 2 or 3 months a year. It'd often snow end of October to mid-November. Would often have that snow up until end of February. Then big thaws start towards end of March into April. Then May, June, July. Would have summer. Then August, September, October. Would have the autumn back into October, November, where the winter would start. But now it's all higgledy-piggledy. We get sun cracking flags on Christmas Day. We get torrential downpours in the middle of summer. Days of rain and flooding. Yeah, it's really gone crazy. It's crazy how much it's changed. But I'm not blaming it all on human climate change. I think we do contribute to that to an extent, but we don't overall cause it. One of the main causes of it is the sun. I had a debate with someone online and they were arguing that we're the sole cause of all climate change, and I said, so how did we have the severe warming period and the recession of the ice caps 500,000 years ago? Was it the flatulent horses, perhaps? Were horses around 500,000 years ago, as we know? I don't know. But yeah, until someone can answer me that, there's no question there. But anyway, well, there is a question there, but it's not answered. But anyway, enough about that. So, there's Jimmy Wilde. Flyweight division is open. More videos coming over coming days and weeks. So I'm the Boxing Librarian, and I am out for now.